Meditation and Spiritual Life, Swami Yatiswarananda. Chapter 13, Practice of Brahmacharya or Continence, Specific Instructions for the Celibate. Necessity of Brahmacharya. Swami Vivekananda laid great emphasis on continence. He used to tell his disciples, Brahmacharya should be like a fire tingling in your veins. In his Raja Yoga, he says that through continence, sex energy is converted into a higher form of psychic energy called ojas. The yogis say that part of the human energy which is expressed as sex energy in sexual thought, when checked and controlled, easily becomes changed into ojas. And as the Mooladhara guides these, the yogi pays particular attention to that center. He tries to keep up all his sexual energy and convert it into ojas. It is only the chaste man or woman who can make the ojas rise and store it in the brain. That is why chastity has always been considered the highest virtue. A man feels that if he is unchaste, spirituality goes away. He loses mental vigor and moral stamina. That is why, in all the religious orders in the world which have produced spiritual giants, you will always find absolute chastity insisted upon. That is why the monks came into existence, giving up marriage. There must be perfect chastity in thought, word, and deed. Without it, the practice of Raja Yoga is dangerous and may lead to insanity. If people practice Raja Yoga and at the same time lead an impure life, how can they expect to become yogis? In the spiritual teachings of Swami Brahmananda, we read, to secure the full development and vitality of the body, brain, and mind, brahmacharya is essential. Those who observe strict brahmacharya develop a strong memory and a remarkable capacity for understanding. By means of brahmacharya, a special nerve is developed which brings about these wonderful powers. Do you know why our great teachers have laid so much emphasis on brahmacharya? It is because they knew if a man fails in this respect, everything is lost. The strict brahmacharyan does not lose his vitality. He may not look like a pahalwan, a great athlete, but the development of his brain is so fine that his capacity for grasping supersensuous things is remarkable. Once, Swami Brahmananda told me to Swami Yatiswarananda, my boy, give your body and mind to worldly enjoyments, and the world will destroy them both. Devote them to God and His service, and you will enjoy bodily health, peace of mind, and spiritual joy. Give all that you have, your health, wealth, youth, talents, everything, to the divine. If you give it to the world will spoil it and leave you empty. In the end, the forces of avidya and destruction are everywhere. Forgetting this, if we rush thoughtlessly into worldly life, we will have to suffer the consequences. One of the difficulties about the observance of continence is that we see people getting along and thriving without it. This may be true in worldly life. Brahmacharya may not make you an intellectual prodigy or a wrestler, though it definitely improves the mind and the body. But the main purpose of brahmacharya is the development of the spiritual faculty. The spiritual nerve called Medha Nadi, referred to by Swami Brahmananda. When a man practices brahmacharya for 10 or 12 years, he feels the awakening of this nerve or faculty in him. It is the power of intuition latent in all men. Sri Ramakrishna and Swami Vivekananda have spoken about this. It is not a mere theory. Moreover, brahmacharya is essential for the nourishment and vigor of the brain. People who do not observe brahmacharya find their brain getting heated up quickly when they try to meditate. Sustained contemplation is impossible unless the brain is strong and cool. Without continence, the brain will not be able to withstand the tremendous strain of long hours of meditation. Really speaking, brahmacharya is absolutely necessary in higher spiritual life. Although people are not told about this very plainly to avoid discouraging them at the very beginning of the spiritual life, the real truth is that there can never be any real meditation, any higher realization without unbroken brahmacharya thought, word, and deed. Without perfect continence and purity, higher spiritual life does not become natural, but we usually talk about it in a milder and less direct way so as not to upset people. The first task in spiritual life is to open the higher centers of consciousness. Meditation has to be practiced in one of the higher centers, and for this, it has to be opened first. How can this be done if the lower centers are intensely active? The sum total of psychic energy left free for higher activity is not much. If all this is diverted to lower centers, the higher centers will not develop. If the working of the lower centers is not stopped, the spiritual aspirant will never be able to keep himself on a higher plane, whatever people may think or say. Really speaking, there can be no spiritual life if these lower centers are allowed to function, stop their work. Unless you do this, the higher centers can never work properly. When the water taps in the ground floor of a building are all open, you find little or no water available on the upper floors. Some people may have got some glimpses of mystic vision even without observing the strictest brahmacharya, but they can never succeed in remaining on the higher plane, and no higher form of realization can ever be attained by them. Brahmacharya is to be observed under all circumstances. If the aspirant wants to attain to any higher life and to any higher form of realization, there is no other way out. This is the plain truth about spiritual life.